Good dog! Good morning.
Good morning, we're back.
We back.
It's been, like 2 weeks almost?
Yeah, we had a few banked though, so it's okay.
Yeah, but as far as us having some discussions, I feel like we have a lot to actually catch up
I
on.
know, we have so much to talk about.
We gotta fill the people in.
I know. You've been gone.
Mm-hmm.
Been planning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got a lot going on. And it seems like right now it's the last few days has been like almost day by day where all of a sudden something's popping up.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. It's cool. I mean, we just got approached to actually go to, the Great American Outdoor Show in Harrisburg, but I don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer, but it's cool that we're starting to get those opportunities already.
Yeah, there's
And
always next year.
It's kind of coming from some stuff that we did previously in a year for duck hunting with a company we did some stuff for. So you kind of stepped in and kind of actually became the face of Bluebird Waterfowl,
Whoa.
which is
I was
really
a little
cool.
shocked and excited, and it turned out really, really good. And having the conversation yesterday, he's like, I never even thought about Brittany being the first official pro staff for Bluebird, so that's fun.
Mm-hmm. And then obviously getting your face out there a little bit, and it's like for them to be like, yeah, you should probably be standing in the booth.
Yeah.
And I understand. I mean, he was kind of open and honest about the idea of having a woman in a booth.
Yeah.
As far as just kind of being an attractant to getting customers in, but you're different.
Some
and I
people
think
do it for the wrong reasons, for sure.
And I think he realized that probably throughout the course of the year of the work that we're putting out.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that you're actually there calling and you're hunting and you're setting up and you're shooting and you're killing just as many ducks and just as much as anybody else, and that you would actually talk ducks.
Yeah.
Actually have conversations
For
about
sure.
hunting and where we're from and how we're using it and the success we've been having, with the product, and that way to, I think, really entice and help people out rather than just being like, hey, I'm a pretty face standing here, come in.
No, yeah, go talk to this guy. No, I feel like, the more I thought about that, I think I would probably thrive in that booth for some reason. I just keep picturing some conversations that I could have and all the things, but it's different for me. I'm out there, I'm using the product, obviously with you, but by myself too. I love that thing, and it's easy to set up, and so yeah, it will be fun going forward for sure.
Yeah, and they're going to be at NWTF as well.
We're going to kind of be down there on our own.
Yeah, we've already paid our way and stuff, and actually a mutual friend of yours kind of reached out about any trade shows we're going to and said, yeah, we're going down there. And we're like, oh, we have an Airbnb. Why don't you just come stay?
So it worked out really well. And we were holding off on the Airbnb to see. There was a couple people that maybe were going to jump in our room. So we were waiting a little bit. There was so many options down there. You can kind of wait and take your pick. But once she said that they have plenty of room, and man, it's so much cheaper when you split an Airbnb.
For sure. Yeah. And even if we have anybody reach out, I'm sure that they would all mend. And
She said it's not full. So
Yeah,
if we had anybody that we wanted to.
yeah, and we'll probably just make the drive down. I think it's not too bad of a drive, and it'd be nice to have a vehicle there.
It's just under 12 hours.
Yeah, and if we're going to be in town for a few days, I don't really know how close or anything to the venue, which really doesn't matter, but having our own vehicle would be nice. Otherwise, it's flights are probably a few $100, which is cheap, which would probably be about the same as gas, but it's okay, we should probably get a rental.
Oh, yeah.
While we're dealing with Ubers, and it's going to be chaotic down there. There's going to be a lot of people. And then it's Nashville. We've never really been there. We've been through it, but to actually soak it in and
First time.
Go out and have some fun and enjoy it a little bit, and I'm really looking forward to it because I know I got to experience Delta last year and you didn't, and this is I think 3 or 4 times the size of it. So it's even going to be overwhelming for me. Um, It'll be something different, for you, but there's going to be a lot of personalities, a lot of people within the industry that I know that are going to be there that I've connected with already, and kind of to continue to go that route. And then also, I know there's people that already, that we've met in the past, Game Fair and different shows, and um, Bluebird will be there too, and they, said to swing by and, hang out in the booth for a while. They want to shoot
Yeah,
some
we will.
content. So, but with being down there on our own, maybe I can, talk to him to, do like a half a day or something. I know he wants to shoot some content and bank some stuff for coming, things that we have coming up. But
Yeah, I don't mind standing there for a while and talking to people.
yeah.
That'll be great.
But yeah, just to recap what we've been up to.
Big recap. I think you get to start because you went on a nice trip.
Yeah, so I took off to Arkansas, and what I was hoping to turn into a pretty decent trip just kind of turned into a run down and run back kind of a deal.
Yeah.
And I think weather was a big factor of that. I was in communication with a bunch of other guys, but with that big cold snap that they got, it just turned into a goose hunt really for us, which is fine. That's what the guys that I was with, kind of their intentions were to get down there. And I know they wanted to get on some duck hunts, so the plan was is geese in the morning, ducks in the afternoon, and the ducks just really weren't cooperating. It was really cold. All the small water was froze. Everything was kind of being held up on bigger rivers.
Yeah.
There's not necessarily bigger bodies of water. It just, bigger rivers. I mean, we were right kind of in the middle of between the Cache River and the Mississippi. One morning we were only maybe a quarter mile off the Mississippi. I think our second hunt, I don't know if that was the Mississippi that we were on or the White River or what we technically was there. But it was a multiple million bird roost.
That's insane. You were down there for like their big, I want to say freeze, but like you guys got a lot of snow that night.
Yeah, so we were dealing with like multiple million bird roosts. It was just a snow goose haven, and previous to us getting down there, they were starting to lose specs. So they were pushing a little bit further south or what they were doing, but they started to trickle back in actually. So I don't know. We got the first hunt was really cool because of the snow, and I was nervous about actually kind of getting down there. I was looking at the weather the entire trip down because it was about, what was it, a 14-hour run?
Yeah.
I think for me.
Just
and
over.
I just ran straight down, and got in at about 6 o'clock that night. I think
But
I left at like 5 and got in at about 6. So I actually made really good timing then. And just as I was like getting into Arkansas, I went through Memphis, and I was headed west, and it started to actually kind of drizzle rain almost, which is what like the front of that storm was doing. And then we woke up to like probably 4 inches of snow on the road, if not a little bit more, and then progressively throughout us hunting until damn near noon that morning. I think we ended up with about 6.5 inches down there.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that's like a lot for them. Right?
Yeah, I
they're
mean,
not used to that. They don't get that often.
They don't get it often. They kind of expect that they get a cold snap and some snow, or at least things ice over every year.
Oh
at
yeah,
some
for
point.
sure. But not that.
But they get a decent snowstorm. Like, they're not prepared at all.
It's insane.
Like, even one of the guides said that he's got a buddy that works at the highway department, and they had 3 trucks and 2 of them were broken down.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of that,
And they're even the trucks, I think, so the entire ride there, which our morning, it was about 45 minutes, took us about an hour to get to the field that morning, because of road conditions and people don't know, like, they're unfamiliar. So it like anybody who was on the road were a duck hunter that morning.
really.
But like the entire ride there, we saw 1 plow truck. And then the entire ride back, we didn't even touch any plowed roads until we got into like some bigger towns.
And there's probably not snow tires and
No,
like,
they're small little plow trucks. Like, they don't have a wing. They don't even know if they had like
what?
It was just like they might as well have been using pickups. And I understand, like, from a even like it related to business or like a budget, like those towns don't allot that because they just don't deal with it. So it's like,
Right.
why would we spend several $100,000 on a truck that's just going to sit and we're never going to use?
Every few years,
So they
realistically.
just buy something that like they're fixing potholes and they're doing like their general road maintenance with, and they have the ability to throw a plow in front of it.
Yeah.
So it was nothing there, but um, again, like that morning, like the guide showed us videos, and there was a string of fields that they had permission on, and it was like, again, it's playing the game of where to hide always.
Oh, yeah.
Um, did I start recording? Okay. Um, so it was always playing the game of, where to hide, and when they first found the scout, it was either to hide by an irrigation system, which was kind of like smack dab in the middle of the feed that they've had found, or to kind of suck to a ditch that was covered in a tree line, which was a much better hide, and that's what they did. And it was the roost was behind us on a river, and it was just chaos immediately. I mean, at any given point, several 100,000 birds in the sky. The tricky thing was the roost being behind us, literally coming straight over the top of us, and it was weird because they were flying across the field behind us. Then there was a ditch. So like, you've never been to Arkansas, so the majority of fields are all lined by a ditch system, which is used for irrigation, because a lot of it is flooded agriculture, so they be able to manage and control water and that. So,
Gotcha.
and then a lot of the ditches are just naturally they're lined with trees, and they might plant. I don't know how. I would assume a lot of it just naturally. To the point where they were flying only like 20, 30 yards off the ground through the field behind us, and then about 50, 60 yards behind us they would climb. So it was really strange, to where honestly, like, if those trees weren't there and we still had to hide, whether it be like day 2, we were literally sitting in a ditch, and if they were doing that, like, we could have literally shot them at 20 yards straight above us as they were coming over. But because they were picking up and going
Yeah,
over,
of
like,
course.
we needed to get them to commit and come back in, circle back in,
Yeah.
which was working, and then the snow shut off.
Oh, really?
And we're sitting there for not the majority of the hunt, but probably about a solid hour of like when it should have been hot and heavy, where it just quit and it started like to drizzle, like almost rain. And they were going out and circling in the field about maybe a couple hundred yards in front of us, and they weren't sitting. They would circle and they'd head back, and you could just tell the majority of the morning that they were just confused and they were worried that of water freezing, I think is what it was. And we had that discussion with the guides too. It's just not something they typically have to deal with on that kind of a magnitude. Like, literally everything was frozen.
Right.
Even a lot of the main rivers were starting to freeze up. So, it's up to the birds to keep it open.
Yeah.
And they don't want to move. I mean, everybody's seen that viral clip of the Missouri River, up in Missouri, where there's millions of mallards.
It's insane.
And they're literally just sitting on ice chunks that are floating on the river.
Yep.
And whatever they can do. And it's a, even to relate it to, a previous podcast we had, with the survey that Wisconsin's putting out.
Yeah.
I think a lot of states and agencies are starting to recognize that. And a lot of guys in Arkansas are getting super bummed out. And I know there's guys that have had some pretty consistent hunts and have been doing really well down there. But it does seem like it's larger tracts of private land that those people are doing well on. And they're hunting more major rivers, or right off of some major rivers, which when you're in Arkansas, like if you're close or by, the White River, the Cache River, the Mississippi, like any of those bigger river systems, I mean, they're just going to be a natural flyway.
Yeah.
That's where ducks are going to hold over. So there's a lot of discussions, and there's a lot of people that are upset. I mean, you even seen some discussions of people in Louisiana that they're just like, duck hunting of the past just no longer is.
It's so different.
And you talk to the old timers down there, 20, 30 years ago, like Louisiana was a hotbed. They would make it down there. They would migrate and they would finish their season in Louisiana, in this January, February, and they're just not as much anymore. So We definitely saw some ducks, um, but it wasn't. It was a lot of pintail, a lot of shovelers. Um, there were definitely some mallards, some gadwall, some teal, but it wasn't the big numbers of mallards.
Hmm.
Um, and like, I mean, the duck hunts, they were just like we had to wait the one morning. Like the farmer had to come in and break open the field because we tried to hunt a pit, which is flooded rice, I believe it was, but super shallow water. There was nothing we could do about it. And it wasn't deep enough to put an ice eater in and shallow enough for it to tighten up real quick, but it had ducks in it the night before.
Yeah.
So
Did you guys have success that morning? No.
no, I think the first duck hunt we literally ended up with one duck.
Ugh.
And that was a late setup. Um, and again, it was like playing the game of where should we sit. Um, and we were sitting up pretty late, and where they ended up actually setting up the guys were, they kicked up several hundred ducks out of that corner, a little bit of a hole, and they just never came back.
Yeah.
But I mean, then like there too, we watched. It was a lot of geese, a lot of specks. I mean, quite a few ducks, but they were just sitting right in the middle of the open water. Which means they were probably have been there for a while and were pretty content. But no, I mean that first morning it turned it into a decent hunt. I got some really cool footage
Yes.
and put together a pretty solid piece on that. It was tough because it wasn't the greatest hunting. We didn't like technically decoy a ton of birds. They just didn't want to finish. They'd sit and spin. We'd have a few commit, and when you got several hundred, several thousand working, and you only have like three actually want to decoy, it's like
No.
really hard early on to want to shoot those three, and then you're just blowing everything else out. So
Yep.
it kind of turned into that point that eventually of like, okay, we're just going to take whatever decoys because they're just not working and they're not
Yeah.
going to finish, and the weather wasn't cooperating as much because typically when they get snow, like they're talking last year, they got a snowstorm and they put like over 400 birds on the ground in a hunt. So like, and that's typically what happens when it snows. They say down there.
So I'm sure the guys were excited.
Oh, they were stoked.
Damn.
Um,
I wonder if other people had really good success.
so we didn't hear it didn't seem like there was anybody goose hunting around us the first morning, but there were definitely people hunting the river. So there were definitely some shooting on the river, which is typical. Um, and then the second day, which I haven't really put anything together on that yet. I mean, you've seen some of the footage, but I mean, it was just like a swarm of bees.
Yeah.
And they were feeds all around us. We were kind of right in the middle of several, and they were finishing and actually doing well there. And it's just crazy because it's like snow goose hunting. It's so chaotic, and like you're having birds finish, and then you're having like thousands that are just flying over you, and they're spinning, and it's just mad chaos. Like we had a couple really good rainouts of like putting probably 20 birds or so on the ground at once.
Yeah.
I think we ended up with like, I don't know, I think we were in the mid 70s for bird numbers at that hunt, the second hunt.
Remind me how many guns you had?
There was a lot.
That's hard for me.
Yeah, and it's something.
I'm so used to just you.
Yeah, and it's difficult for me. It's difficult for, I mean, several of the other guys as well. I understand from a guide standpoint that it's just like with everything froze and with the conditions we have, like
This is where we can hunt.
goose hunting is what it's going to be, and we're just going to all hunt together because we have, multiple million bird roosts. And with some of these flocks, like honestly, it's like more guns the better in those situations if we really want to have a good hunt.
If they finish.
Yeah, because if we would have even had like small groups of like 6 shooting at that, it'd be like, it'd be pretty disappointing from the guide standpoint to be finishing thousands of birds at once and you're only putting like 5 or 6 on the ground.
Yeah, I totally get that.
You know what I mean? So from their standpoint, and to be honest, there was opportunities like so many birds working in that people were able to reload and shoot again.
That's crazy.
Just how.
That is like a goal of mine. Like you have so many birds that you're trying to reload as fast as you can.
And the first day was pretty tough on filming because they didn't have really another opportunity. I mean, I went and laid in the ditch further down a few times, kind of deal, just to like, obviously I don't want to be sticking out, but like not really to put an A-frame or not an A-frame, to put like an additional layout or something out just for me. So I was just filming off out of the end of the A-frame, and it was just kind of tough.
You know, future planning should. I would hate for you to have to travel with one all the time, but it would be nice if you had one for those situations.
There's some options out there.
Like,
So
are
there's
there
like
any
a
that fold up nice?
yeah. So there's like a little. I think it's called like a Nukem, I believe makes it.
We don't
It's a little like
hunt layouts.
it's it's almost like a little portable. Um, you kind of just sit behind it.
Mm,
Kind of wraps around you a little bit. It's like a
okay.
three-sided little blind. Like it's pretty popular for turkey hunting and stuff. But it
Oh,
folds up into like sticks. To be honest, like where I could put it in, like where my tripod goes as well.
gotcha.
So there's
Oh,
some
wow.
options out there. I know guys, which honestly probably would have been fine if I would have just had like a ghillie suit, which like a grass suit.
Yeah. I
So I know.
never thought about that. Rob wears those.
Yeah, I know that. I mean, I see Joel pretty often, wearing them too, and he's just kind of sitting off the side. And um, but it's also one of those things like you're fresh working new with an outfitter. I mean, I wasn't there working specifically for them. I
No, you
was
were.
tagging along, actually with some guys from Garmin. So Danny and Mike invited me to come down, which is um, super appreciative of them to be able to do that, and then
They appreciate you too.
to put some content together. And there was there was an initiative to want to get on a duck hunt because
Mm,
they got some loads from federal that they wanted to test out and try.
some secret new ones.
Like he didn't even say what they were.
Yeah, he didn't tell you.
They were in a like your prototypical blue federal, like basically trap box, like your trap
Mm-hmm.
shooting box,
Yep.
and no label at all on the shell. You had no idea what they were. And
Just try these and let us know.
yeah, and the guy at Federal was literally getting a hold of like Danny every single day, like texting him like, Did you get a chance? Did you shoot him?" Like, you know what I mean? And he's like, "They're duck loads," so he's like, "I don't want to throw them in and try to shoot geese, like, because if nothing happens and I'm not knocking birds down, like, I don't want to give him a bad review when he told me they're duck loads, you know."
Yeah.
So that was kind of a big reason of wanting to get on some duck hunts. So and it just didn't work out, which is a bummer. I mean, I got some really cool photos. I actually got to send off to him.
We were working on them last night. They turned out really cool.
um, and then so a couple really good goose hunts, which was fun. I mean the guys we were with, I mean, they knew what they were doing. They've hunted that year for a long time, that area for a long time. One guy's actually from Michigan and reached out. So it's like kind of split ownership from what I understand with the outfitter. And one's home base is actually Michigan, and he
Cool.
does turkey and early goose up here.
What part of Michigan
I
did you say? You
didn't
didn't
get
know?
any details, but he reached out to me, would like me to come, probably this spring to do some turkey stuff, and
Yeah,
then,
'cause
um, and
turkey.
yeah, and then to start out, yeah, he guides turkeys and then does early goose in Michigan, and then, once that kind of tapers out, like Arkansas is lighting up down there, so he runs down there then.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it seems like those are like weird conversations that we had. Like, the one guide we had that helped like the last day there on a duck hunt. He's a diehard goose hunter. Like he'll chase them now, conservation season, all the way back to North Dakota.
Mm.
To where he's hunting every single day from October all the way through, what did he say, March, and then he switches gears and he chases turkeys in like 5 or 6 different states.
That's crazy.
And which is kind of typical for a lot of those guides. Like I mean, if you look at
They're year round with something.
yeah, but even if you look at like a lot of the Instagrams and stuff of the guides, like especially the ones I was with, they do switch gears and they all chase turkeys really hard.
Mm.
So like the one owner, like he's shot turkeys in Wisconsin, Minnesota, like all over.
Yeah.
And the one guide said, he's like, "I heard them Wisconsin birds are the dumbest in the nation."
Oh, fuck. Oh, my God.
I was like, well, if you get them early in the year, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like for us, we're always
I'm so
somehow,
frustrated with that. I don't know why we keep getting last season. We should.
yeah, we applied right away and we got like
D?
yeah, so 4th season, and we're
Come on.
for our local unit, so we'll have to go
I
down.
know.
We'll buy some over the counter and probably go down
We'll go
by
back down by Madison.
yeah, we'll go back down there again. But then yeah, to circle back, like day 2 was insane. It was, you could hear the roost the entire time. They kicked birds out of the field setting up that morning. So like birds are overnighting in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the smell of the goose shit, it was everywhere. I mean, so just imagine millions of birds in a field pretty much all day, all afternoon and all night
Yuck.
probably.
That's something I didn't even think about.
It smelled like you were in like a fresh pastured field, you know. Um
Yeah, but goose shit is so much worse than cow shit.
yeah.
Yuck.
Um
Oh, no
and you could
thanks.
see them and they were sitting off, it would have been I think to our west. And that morning there were a few different groups around us that were setting up into some fields, so there were some other people that were definitely hunting the same roost.
Mm.
But there were so many birds, they were going to so many fields. It was
Did
miles.
no.
When they found the feed, it was miles. I think it was like a mile and a half from one end to the other. And then like sporadically like several other fields like kind of checkerboarded throughout like another mile or
Which
something
is
of
like
just completely loaded.
unbelievable.
And it was snows, a lot more specks the second day. Um, there were some blues, there was some Rosses, which are typical with the snow geese.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but some really really nice bird shot.
You got some really pretty pictures.
Yeah, that was some of the feed.
Yeah,
Yeah, so um,
I love those.
after the first hunt, the first day, we went back to the house and then we kind of just I geared up and put my long lens on and we just drove around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it's like we're sitting there and we're like looking at Onyx and stuff, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's what the heck? I got some pins here. It was like right where we were last year when I was
That's
down there,
so
like
crazy.
within like 10 miles. And it's like honestly, it's like I start to think back and look back. It's like some of that looks familiar, and it's like it was just everything was snow covered, so it was hard to tell.
Yeah.
Um, but it's all the Cache River Refuge down there. We were kind of in that. I think it's the White River, I believe. But the Cache River is right there, and then obviously to the east you got the Mississippi. So
Hmm.
really cool area. I mean, it's just it's a different world down there. Um, it's every other truck had something to do with duck hunting, pulling a duck boat, pulling a trailer with a UTV.
Yeah, we've had a lot of conversations about the boats you saw down there and
Yeah,
motors and
yeah. Which is kind of a shocker. It's mostly outboards,
it's so
rather
crazy.
than mud motors. And obviously the popular mud motor is a gator tail down there.
Hmm.
To where it was kind of cool. I did see several other prodigies, but not many. I mean, by far the most popular boat was a Havoc, without question. And I think it's just the affordability.
Yeah.
And then people just throw an outboard on it. And Arkansas is different. Like you're not hunting out of a boat. You're not.
No, that's true.
You know what I mean? You're not. Um, Even from like a prodigy standpoint, like I would think the majority of them, like if I were to be down there, it'd be hard to not get a prodigy again, or to go somewhat custom to just get the lighting,
Hmm.
but to have more of a bare bones inside because you're just gonna want to carry a load because you're
Run
gonna
and
go.
gun, yeah.
You're running a river, you're getting back to your hole, you're doing that thing, and then you're standing. You're standing up against a tree, or you're
That
getting,
makes sense.
or the guys who have some private land, they're getting to a blind. They run into a blind, and that's it. They're not
Yeah.
staying in the boat. It's literally to carry gear and dogs and people.
Yeah, it makes sense. But
Um,
the outboard, that surprised me. You would think being in the timber
yeah,
that they would really need.
depending on depth, I think. But I mean, the majority of them all run a
Well,
jack
that
plate.
has to vary. Yeah.
Yeah, so the majority of them run a jack plate, and they trim the motor. Not necessarily trim the motor up, but they raise that jack plate up, so they're
Yeah.
running in that higher column.
True.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it'd be hard for me to, knowing what we do and stuff. Like I would never, even if we didn't need it, probably stay for duck hunting purposes, stay with a mud motor.
Yeah, I'm just really curious about the gator tails now, but
Hmm.
our mud motor's been good to us.
Yeah, there's specific differences, obviously, like the handle,
Oh
and
yeah.
the nice thing with the Mud Buddy, and from a scouting standpoint of running in and out of water all the time, putting it on a trailer, running to the next, getting it off, is just to have that pin to lock it for running up and down the road and not have to put the collar on the back. But um, I don't know, gator tails actually be a little bit more local for us. because they're kind of a southern company. We're like Mud Buddies way out west.
Mm.
Um, and to be honest, the bulk of the only difference really is the drive, and that's in the handle. To where the motor and I think like the transmission for the most part is like, if
Pretty much
not
the same.
if not the identical, it's very similar.
Okay.
A lot of them are like a Briggs Vanguard, motor, um, and they're just kitted and modded out to fit. But yeah, I mean, to go back, second day we sat in a ditch actually.
Mm.
There was just open fields, and it was all iced over. And to just give context of like the weather that was changing is by the time we were wrapping up the hunt, like the ditch was flowing water,
Mm.
so it was warming up pretty
Real
quick.
quick.
And then I mean the one morning I think was mid-teens, and when we left Sunday it was getting into the 50s, so everything was mud.
Oh,
Just that quick. You get
what a
you
mess.
get a freeze and then it warms up, and which is good and bad. I mean, your field hunters like deal with mud, and now they're walking stuff in. Everything else is UTV side by side to get all their gear. I mean, because you're putting out several hundred decoys.
Yeah,
Especially for snow geese.
for sure.
Um, and then second day, it was good. We got shot a lot more specs. It was I got some really really good footage second day, which is kind of typical, honestly, in the situations I found myself in. That's where like when I talk to people, I try to tell them like I'd love to come in for more than one day,
Oh, yeah.
because you're kind of getting your legs under you the first day, getting the grasp of things, and then that second day, like things start clicking as a camera guy to be able to really capture a lot of stuff. The only crappy thing is a lot of times like lighting situations are similar, that like from a production and editing standpoint, you can like crossover footage.
Oh, yeah.
So, like take stuff from day 2 and put it with day 1, and like it'll all look similar, but like the lighting and the weather was drastically different.
Oh,
So that was one reason why I'm like, you know what, I just need to put something together for day 1 regardless, because of the snow, overcast, super low light, and then the second day it was sunny.
so that film you put together was all just day one?
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Yeah. Then day 2, was just insane. It was chaos. There was shooting all around us. We were sitting really close to a river, so they were roosting off to our west, and then the river made a huge bend. And they were sitting in a pool off to our west, but like the river was actually straight behind us as well, and there were people like hunting in timber behind us. So they were like having a banger of a duck hunt by the sounds of it. There were people hunting more to like our northwest in a field that were doing quite well, just by the sounds of it. But I mean, I got some sweet footage, and I'll be working on putting something together for that, and probably have like several little clips and stuff that I'll put out. That was a huge group. Like when we showed up, there was a whole nother group compared to what we had the previous morning.
That's insane.
And which it is what it is. Nothing, from my angle or even whatever it is. Like,
Yeah, I guess it doesn't affect you at all.
I understand. And then there was like which was really cool, and I sent you like a Snapchat like during the moment of that. And I don't know how much of it you saw, but like there was a father son, and he was probably
Mm,
oh boy, I couldn't tell you how old he was, like maybe 12.
I saw from the pictures, I was like 11. I don't
Yeah.
know how old this kid is.
And to me, it kind of seemed like maybe their first like goose hunt or something together. And I wouldn't be shocked if he actually got to shoot his first goose, because there was one that was crippled out in a field, and anybody who's goose hunted and you're having them big rainouts and stuff like, and then with the conditions, we weren't running dogs, so it was a lot of the guides and even us were running out and picking birds up and helping out. But you have some that
Oh, for sure.
you got to finish. And the dad and the boy walked out, and you could see that he like coached him through it, and he like got to shoot his first goose.
I love that stuff. And just for you guys to allow that moment to happen is really cool.
Yeah, some people started getting impatient. It's like you sit back and you think about it, and it's like, you know what? All
This
of you
is,
guys were in this situation at some point.
hmm
And if you're goose hunters, you understand this.
and
Let
that
him
is
have
going
the
to set him up.
let him have the moment. And then I think it finally realized it really set in later on when actually one of the guides like took the kid's hands and what took him with,
Mm.
and like they chased down a far cripple, and you could see him sitting there, and they each had a gun, and like, you know what I mean, the dad let him take his gun, and it was like super cool moment, and like to be able to see that kind of stuff. And those are things that can kind of, even from an outfitter and a guide standpoint, like set yourself apart to be able to allow that to happen.
Well, and to have the heart to be like, come on, let's go.
So like that kid's gonna be hunting with them again. That dad will be back for sure.
Hmm
You know.
That's the stuff I love and that I look forward to.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, so the crew I was with, I mean, we're Wisconsin, Minnesota, and then the first morning we hunted with a crew from the East Coast, Maryland. Um, and then the second day there was another guy that came in from Texas by himself. He had another buddy or two that were coming with, but they got sick. And then there was another group that, to be honest, just weren't too friendly. And I think maybe they were upset to show up and see kind of the same situation of like, oh, we're hunting with 20 other
This
people.
many people, yeah.
Um,
Especially
and
if you,
I think they were all from down south. They all had Arkansas plates on their trucks, and they were all nice trucks. So I feel like they were somewhat local, or somewhat from the area.
especially if you're kind of, for some reason, my mind went to like, if you're expecting to go there and bring home a bunch of meat and you got to split all your geese with 20 guys, that sucks.
Yeah, and
If that's something you look forward to, I don't know.
it's that's like it brings up another interesting thing is not a lot of people are a fan of snow geese as far from an eating standpoint.
Oh, I did
Specs
not think about that.
specs are pretty good. Um, but then what they primarily do is bring them to food banks.
Oh, I didn't even think about that being snows. Never mind.
So like I know
I'm thinking about delicious mallard.
Mike had his two sons with, and I know they took some back.
Mm,
But I think a lot of it, like we told him, just to go donate it.
right, that makes sense. Never mind.
Because to be honest, like there's several areas down there that probably could use it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it is like you kind of cross over a barrier, honestly, like Southern Illinois, and it's like the clock turns back, like 20 years.
That's just wild.
Just the living accommodations and everything. Like we're like, to be honest, it's taking those trips also like for me really enhances my appreciation of what we have here. Because like honestly, we sit in this home and it's like we're just sick of it and we want to get out of here and we want something newer, we want something nicer, like we want more room, we want all the things, we want a nice garage, like what normal people do. And it's like the majority of people would love to have our house down there. You know what I mean? Like we know buddies that they go down there and stuff, and they have like a quote unquote duck camp, and then you hear them, it's like, it's really not that nice of staying or living accommodations, and it's like what, like, and then you go down there, it's like, oh, okay, I understand what you mean now. Like there's like makeshift sheds that are turned into a little camp, and there's
geez.
like, just campers that they turn into basically add on to a camper, and obviously like your traditional trailer parks and stuff like that. But there was one part of town we went after our second day hunt. We wanted to go get some food, and we were in that Helena area, and we kind of like wind down, go through some really cool areas, like dropping down towards the river, and we like get into this town, and it's like literally almost every other house is burnt to the ground.
What is up with that?
And I'm like, okay, and it's like everything's vacant and trees growing through the houses and like people walking around, and it's just like, oh boy, like where are we? You know what I mean? And then like Danny calls Mike, and he's like, Mike, where the hell are you putting us? And he's like, I don't know if you know where we're gonna stop. We'll go check this place out, but like we might turn around and just go back right back into town, like by Walmart or something. And then it's like you cross over and you go, you hit like the main street, and there's like banks and hotels, and it's like really really nice, and it's like, okay. And we mentioned it to the guides later on of like, what's the story there? And they're like, that used to be the spot like back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Like that's where your car meetups were. There used to be like a drive-in movie theater, and there used to be a ton of restaurants, and there used to be diners and cafes, and
why not anymore?
And it's just like when things start to go down there, they don't pay no mind. They just let it go.
Rebuild over here.
Not even like rebuild. It's just like you'd be like just shocked at how many like literally like I'm telling you like homes of just like trees growing through them, and then somebody living right next to it, and it's just like somebody passes away and it just doesn't go anywhere. They don't
I mean,
sell it. They don't do nothing. They don't, you
like
know.
around here, you can't leave a vacant home. Like, I'm purposely thinking of the one in Leona that had a small fire on the back end of the house, and the town gave them a year to have it torn down. They
Hmm.
were like, this cannot stay this way. You have to clean this up, or else there's fines.
Oh yeah, there's zoning laws and
But
stuff, and they
over,
just must not apply down there.
that's
You know what I mean?
crazy.
It's different, and you know I've been down south quite a few different times, and it's kind of you kind of get a similar feel all over. And it's just the culture. It's just
Yeah,
the way of life down there, and you come back appreciating things a little bit differently
that's
because
good.
you could be in the same situation, and honestly, they don't know better, and they probably like and it seems like you know people down there probably don't have much of a mortgage, but they all have pretty nice vehicles.
You said
That's kind
that.
of
You're
the
like,
thing.
everyone has a nice vehicle, but the
If you look
houses
at
are.
if you look in the driveway, like they have nice vehicles, and they're probably just content with what they have, and they look around and they don't know better, like they were probably born and raised in one, and you know, um, but yeah, then
They just appreciate things differently, I think, too. They
mhm.
might have a completely different appreciation than we do.
Yeah, and you also look at if I were just living the lifestyle that we live, I think people appreciate a nice home up here a hell of a lot more in the winter months.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a huge determining factor of wanting to have a nice home as well, of living comfortably and having what you need in that, but like knowing you're going to have months of the year, like, to be honest, the last 2 days we hardly left the house because we wake up and it's like over 40 below with wind chill.
That's insane.
Like our
I
dogs
don't
go
think we
outside for
did
two
leave the
minutes
house.
and they're whining to come back in because their feet are froze that quick, and it's
She
like,
can't even go to the bathroom before her feet are froze.
mm-hmm.
She,
And they have
poor
to go
girl.
outside, but it's like, you know what I mean? So
I'm not taking them for a
where
walk in 40 below.
yeah, well, where you're down south, it's like you normally don't deal with it, and it's a very outdoor driven focused thing. Like you're fishing, you're hunting, like deer hunting is a big deal down there, hog hunting. As far as fishing, it's bass and crappie. Like they love their crappie fishing down
All open water.
there. So they're probably outside. They're probably living their
They don't
life.
spend any time in the house, I bet.
Mm-hmm. So it's like
Look at us in the summer.
hey, we have a decent house. It's paid off. We have no like, let's go buy ourselves a boat. Let's go buy ourselves a side by side.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So
Summertime, we're here to sleep, literally,
mhm,
and that's it. We don't come in the house until 9:30 at night, and we're
mhm,
out by 5 or 6 to go do something.
mhm, mhm. Yeah. So it's just been a, I don't know. It was a fun trip. I got a lot of really really cool footage.
I'm glad you went.
Putting some cool stuff together, and it was more so I guess more so just like a personal marketing trip for me. Like I didn't make
Yeah.
a ton of money.
Mm-mm.
Which is fine. Like I think we talked about it in a previous episode of just like, there's moments to do some like quote unquote free work.
Mm-hmm.
And me being in the early stages of things, like I have to take those chances.
Yeah. You
Even
have to look
though,
at it as potentially opening a door in the future, and it already is.
hmm
So that's really exciting.
yeah, and it's opening doors, putting more work out there, like having an opportunity to go film and do that stuff, and then put something solid together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wish that first day, like with the snow, I wish it would have been a banger, like 100 birds on the ground and had some
Oh, of
opportunities. But
course.
it's like hunting in an A-frame and being a camera guy is pretty tough. And it's not like I could go sit behind the blind a little ways because there was trees and like even to like straight tree line. So like even if I went like left or right of the blind, like you know what I mean, I'd get some like cool like side on blind shots and stuff, and like I could focus on getting some birds killed in that. But trying to pop up through the blind every time, like with it snowing and being crappy, like your lenses were getting wet, so it was like water spots, and
Mm.
it just wasn't really working. So there were times where I'm like basically one handing it out the side of the blind, like setting a tripod up and just letting the camera rip at times and different things that way, and just trying to be creative and using action cams and my 360 and different things to just get some things. I'm just like, To where like the second day was a little bit better because like I didn't need to worry about things getting wet.
Mm-hmm.
So filming out of the blind was fine. It wasn't really a problem. And able to swap lenses and get some put a bigger lens on and get some birds finishing and get some some good pillowcase shots and stuff that way, and
Yeah, super cool.
some nice tights and different things. And um, but then yeah, duck hunting was duck hunting, and that was a huge reason for me to just turn around and come back. And also getting a phone call like, hey, I could use some help. I have some work for you. Back up here, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like I'll push off, because like honestly, it was gonna be to try to connect with some friends down there and some people that I knew, and float around and hopefully get onto some hunts. But like again, probably spend some of my own money and time down there to like maybe. And then a couple of the other outfitters I was talking to were like, "There's just not ducks around. Like
Well,
we're
and
sorry."
look at, the friends we're talking about, they are like hating it right now. They're like, we're not even bringing the dogs. The hunting is horrible.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like to stay down there and potentially not have any content would have been really hard.
Mhm. Yeah.
To
Yeah.
connect with them, sure, it would have been great, but
Yeah.
the hunting was really bad.
Yeah. I'll eventually, I'm sure, get in them. I mean, but yeah, we're talking about Josh and Zach down there, and just what we've been seeing like lately. Again, they're just like not running dogs,
Mm-mm.
and you see the conversations they're having on
Yeah.
Instagram, and it's just like it's kind of a bummer to even go.
Yeah.
But season's winding down. We're here instead of sitting
It's going to get
inside.
better
Like
these last.
and if it warms back up, like we should finally have some ducks, and so it's I don't know. It's one of those things for me. I'm just gonna try to stay adamant and try to have conversations because there's a really good opportunity to go do some cool stuff with them, and I'd
Mm-hmm.
love to. And if it don't work out, it don't work out. Like I have plenty of other opportunities coming and things in the works. And
Yeah.
this was a big year for me, just growing and putting myself out there and marketing and meeting people and dipping my toes in things. And like I think next year is going to be like I could if I
I
continue.
feel the stress coming for you because I think you're going to be busy.
Not necessarily like there's a lot of
Good
excitement.
stress.
I'm more so stressed right now that I'm just like I feel like I don't have anything going on right now.
Yeah.
And it's like I can look into the future and it's like okay, I have a lot of exciting things, and like we
Mm-hmm.
have NWTF coming up and reconnecting and meeting people and making plans for next year, and like so it's like I'm really excited, but that's also like 8 months away.
Mm-hmm.
It's like okay, and I know I'll have like a bunch of fishing stuff. I'll have a ton of real estate
Real estate's
stuff,
going to pick up. That
and
was like super consistent for you last year. And I
honestly,
know that it's not,
hmm
like the hobby that you love, but man, was that consistent. It was like almost every day you were running to do something.
and it was paying the bills.
Oh, that's what I mean.
Hmm.
Super consistent
Yep.
and easy.
Yeah.
Like it
Hmm.
took you an hour and a half maybe to shoot a nice house and then,
Hmm. Yeah, depending on what they want and what we're doing. If I'm just going in and take some stills and throw the drone up to take some stills and stuff, like yeah, hour and a half,
mm-hmm.
in and out. Take my time putting the photos and stuff
And
together.
Andrew and Ashley are going to be putting up more houses, I'm sure. So that'll be,
Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe they'll want me to do some more stuff with them because honestly, like they were some of the first people to jump on board and give me the opportunity to do some paid work, and
mm-hmm.
some of it was okay, but I look back at it now and I'm like, ugh. So which is good that
I
I'm like,
always think back on that when she told you, can you change the color of the bathroom?
oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, you have to change all the wall coloring. And it's not just an edit you can throw over because it screws
Su-
everything up.
well, and super easy,
Was it?
super easy with a photo, but as far as a video, it's like trying to desaturate it, and then you're trying to like mask out the walls, but obviously with it being a moving shot, and it's tricky, and it's definitely possible, but it's like how much time, from my standpoint, how much time does a person, spend on it that it might not get much better.
I know.
And also like how much time is it worth it financially for me to sit and like spend a full day on one shot of a bathroom because the walls are too pink, you know what I mean, and they'd rather have them looking white. So, and then it's also like doing that kind of stuff, you're setting white balance and stuff per room, so it's like you go in, you set your white balance, you come back out and you make the shot, and it's like now if I change the wall colors, it's going to throw my white balance off, it's going to look blue.
Yeah.
So it's like,
There's so much
you know
technical stuff that goes into it.
um but yeah, then it was kind of race back and had some stuff to do here right away. So that was a big reason to come back. It's like, okay, like taking a risk, kind of hanging out down here, and I would love to, like, give me all the ducks in the world. I didn't really get to do anything with the dog, which was kind of a bummer.
Mm.
Um, which whatever. And then it was like get a phone call, hey, when are you going to be around, or what's your availability for this week? And I'm like, well, I would love to tell you that I'm booked, but everybody I'm talking to is struggling with ducks. I feel like I got my fair share of goose hunting, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna get back on a truck. And Sunday we had a morning duck hunt that really wasn't worth a damn. We went and packed up, went and had breakfast at Waffle House, and I think at 1 o'clock I hit the road and got home at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
yeah, that's something. That's something a year and a half, 2 years ago I never would have done. And it really wasn't that bad. Like I got through
I know.
Milwaukee. I got through Milwaukee, and I'm like, "God, maybe I should take a nap." And to be honest, what switched it is like getting off the podcast and like listening to people talk. I think was like kind of getting to the point of like it being
Oh,
mesmerizing.
you need
And I put music on and just bumped my way home,
to.
and it like picked me up and kept me going. And
I woke up in a panic. Like, I worried about you because I knew you were going to try to make it all the way home. And I woke up in a panic. I'm like, and I checked my 360 app to make sure that you didn't have a crash
no,
alert or something.
I'm
And you
still
were in
here.
like Green Bay. And I'm like, okay, I think he can make it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like I told myself like
If you
if I
can
can
make Green Bay,
if I can make Milwaukee, I feel like I can make Green Bay. If I make Green Bay, it's like okay, now I'm like an hour and a half from home. Like I think I could do it, you know, because it's like it's the middle of the night. It's stopping. It's filling up a few times, and obviously you're at night. You want to stop in good places. Um, getting some food and trying not to eat like total shit when you're on the road. Um, so it was like trying to get protein bars and things that aren't too crappy for you, but um, so it took a little bit longer coming home for sure.
mm-hmm.
Um, but like I hit, and because it was actually quicker for me to run and bypass Chicago. Like I hit Chicago at a good time.
Good.
That's really the only headache
Mm-hmm.
I think is about it. You bypass Memphis on the way down coming. Actually, it was like the northbound lane coming out of Memphis was kind of bad coming in, but like you bypass it pretty aggressively the way I came in to get into Arkansas.
Good.
Um, which what I mean, like if we go down there, it'd be cool to run to Memphis because then you could see the pyramid, the big Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah.
Um,
I want to get to that Shin store at some point. You were pretty close to that, weren't you?
yeah, and I was gonna, and that was another thing. Like I
Yes.
want to stay down, and I'd love to go down to Stuttgart and go to Max, and go
That's okay.
to
We can do it together.
go to the R&T. They got like a place, a bar set up that you can go have a drink and stuff, and then obviously the Nushin location there in Stuttgart and everything. That I had it on my plans to get down there, and it just didn't really work out. Like we had the opportunity after the first day, but then we decided to run around and try to get some cool pictures and stuff, which I would rather do.
Yeah.
Could I go get some cool pictures at the Shin store and stuff? Yeah, and meet some people. Yeah. Um, but I connected with some of those at Delta, and we can again. I'm sure they're going to be at NWTF,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we'll bump into a lot of those people again. But yeah, I mean, I'll be back down there. I'm working out some stuff to probably get back down there for conservation season for snow geese,
Fun.
which would be nice. So, but yeah, it's just one of those things. Like go down there, kind of do some work for quote unquote free, and put it out there. And you basically like, I just gave it to the outfitter. Like honestly, like a minute and a half, almost like a short film. Like it wasn't like there wasn't much for talking or anything, but just some like cool like ambience
Yeah, go
and
check it out. It's really cool.
the snow and the lighting and a lot of setting up, kind of piecing the puzzle together and then some cool blind shots and everything that way. And I'm like, basically just hit collaborate, and if they want to accept it, they can accept it. And they looked
Yeah.
at it and they loved it, and almost every one of them reached out to me and we
Good.
want some stuff early next year, and what are your rates? And the
Good
one guy,
deal.
hey, we want some turkey and early goose up in Michigan, and
That's so
that's just
awesome.
kind of like the
That's
name of
what
the
you do
game.
it for. Mm-hmm.
Is like, and it sucks because in a moment of like going down there, it's like I haven't really made much money in the last month.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like okay, now it's going to cost me to go down there, but
It will pay off.
you try to look into the future of what the payoff could be.
Well, and it's already, I mean, you're already seeing that come together.
Yeah, and I think it's got something in my throat this morning. Um, but yeah, I mean it's even like last weekend. like we get the invite to go down and do some ice fishing. We've never been
Mm-hmm.
on Bago or Poygen, and we got to go down there and experience that for a little bit, and you
Mm-hmm.
know,
It was amazing.
and hang out with some friends, some new friends that
Mm-hmm.
we're starting to get closer with, and um, super kind, super like for
Yeah.
them to welcome us into their home and don't worry about anything,
With our daughter and
and
our
our dog.
dog.
Yeah.
She's like, bring the whole family. I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
You're crazy.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, I feel like I've known her for a long time via social media.
Mm-hmm.
But once we started to talk, it was just like game over. And it was like, oh, I've known you my whole life. We've
Mm-hmm.
been friends forever. Um, and so she's so sweet and we're really similar. And it was really funny going down there. Um, Jimmy's like, don't you remember how we met like 15 years ago? I was like, holy crap. Like, I did not connect the dots. And he's like, to his wife, like, you guys would be such good friends. She's up north, she hunts, she fishes, she does everything you do. And then, must be the right timing because now we're connected. And
Mm-hmm.
she says, welcome to her house whenever we want to go down. She said, I'm serious. If you call me and tell me you're on your way, you're always welcome. So,
Mm-hmm.
and she was so good with Avery, and it just melts my heart. So that
Mm-hmm.
was great. Avery got to catch some fish,
Mm-hmm.
thanks to them, and it was a lot of fun. But I'm starting to kind of dive into that, and she's been a really big help already with like approaching brands and
Mm-hmm.
how do I respond to brands and
Mm-hmm.
all of that stuff. So she's going to be a really big help, and she's opened some doors to some other people that really want to hang out with us and have invited us to do some things and collaborating with us online, and it's so good. It's all coming together.
Yeah, and it's even from my side, like obviously to have some more men in my group is always needed.
We
Um,
do, yeah.
so so Jimmy was great and got to hang out and shoot the shit with him, and like I mean basically took some pictures and videos and stuff, but like put a fish fry together that night. So like we caught some slammer perch, like
Hmm.
some of the biggest perch we've probably ever seen.
Hmm.
We catch some nice ones up here, but like
And
those
they're
were
fat there.
those were really nice.
That's
And
not
then
just like a good length, like they're chunks. So it
hmm
was a lot of fun. And
on
I
on tip
I
ups.
was gonna say this, they're probably laughing at us when they listen to this, but it's like we set tip ups for big walleye. We
Hmm
don't we don't waste time with that. And they even got us interested to go to Shields and pick up some tip downs because they were hitting on those pretty good too. But
hmm
yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. It was. They're just pretty finicky, and I mean, like we'd watch
Well,
them
that
on.
was the cold front. They said usually
Yeah.
you can get them other ways too, but it got cold real fast and they shut off.
Yeah, it was. The morning really wasn't too terrible. Um, but it was like our first experience on Bago, which was, I mean, I've talked to other people in the past, and like it was my worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And then they like just put the bridges out across the mainline cracks, and people like were driving, and it was me and Jimmy were out there like 10 minutes before you, and I sent you the video like holy shit it slammed, and then I told Jimmy that, and he's like, this is like a
Yeah,
sixth of
Dory
a
said this is literally nothing.
yeah, and I'm just like so it was like everybody now like an ability to get out there without walking or having to take a four-wheeler or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
She said party on Poygan's next weekend. She said like 600 to 800 people buy tickets.
hmm,
Are you friggin' serious? That's insane.
yeah,
I'm mad if 30 people are fishing Matonga.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just a different world.
Yeah, and like what else do you really do, I guess, too, down there?
Well, up here in the winter, all you can do is ice fish.
Yeah, but like if you're around Poygan or you're around Bago or Winneconne or like those lakes, like they're good fishing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think if you grow up in that area, like you're probably in a boat all summer long, and when it freezes over, you're on the ice.
Yeah.
You live and breathe fishing.
I just saw somebody caught a really nice, like 46-inch muskie or something on Poygan on a spoon. I'm like, dang. But yeah, there's some really nice fish down there. We're not going to get down there this weekend, but we're going to try to. Don't fall down, please. Jeez.
Yeah, we were
But
gonna.
we're going to try to fish up here, I think.
Yeah, we were gonna try to get down there. They invited us down, and they have some more friends coming in, which would have been super cool to
I
meet.
really wanted to meet her, but
Um,
them.
we'll definitely get to. I mean, you've been talking to her a lot on socials and stuff, and um, we'll have the opportunity. Actually, she invited us to come over by them right in
Yep.
February, so maybe we'll try to make that work. If not, we'll definitely cross paths other than
Yeah,
just a
it's
quick
going to
little
happen.
expo.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just we have a lot of things coming up and um, bigger trips to where like we kind of need to rely on people with Avery. So it's kind of hard to
That's a
just like
stressor.
it's kind of hard to just go a couple hours away and feel like we need to, drop Avery off with somebody to go for a couple days or something. So we're
I'm going to
like,
have to sit down. Like, I think we're going to have to sit down in person with family and be like, listen, this is going to take a village because there's going to be weekends that we're really busy and we're going to need to rely on you guys. And
mhm.
we appreciate it. But there are going to be some big weekends like Nashville. I mean, mom's going to have her the whole time, but she has Monday off. Otherwise, we would have had to try to coordinate with both parents and trying to flip flop and which works.
It's nice that that's an opportunity. It's a big trip for us, and there's gonna be some good opportunities, but also like to be able to have the time to experience something for the first time outside of like, I mean, you've been to some trade shows, but nothing like this, and I
No.
haven't either. And Delta was kind of that next level compared to like what Game Fair or Oshkosh or even like the stuff they put on at the Rush Center.
Oh, that's nothing.
So and there'll be some more opportunities. I know I like talking to George with Bluebird. Like I think they have like a dozen on the books this year, and would love to fly us out and be a part of
Yeah, I'm
more
sad
than.
that Pennsylvania won't work out, but there'll be a lot more opportunities. I definitely want to
I always
make
forget
sure that
about
I'm
that show.
on Pennsylvania trip next year because that's something I really, really have wanted to go to.
And I always forget about that one because it's kind of a strange time of the year. Like it's like,
Mm,
well, what I mean is it's a really long show. Like it's like
yeah, that's crazy
I
to
think
me.
it's like 4 days in a row or something in back-to-back weekends. So it's a
Mm,
lot.
mm-hmm.
And I know people don't necessarily like that. Like NWTF, like the big ones are one weekend. But then like game fair is like another one people want to complain about because it's like back-to-back weekends.
Yeah.
So it's just
As
it's
far
a
as
lot.
the vendor go being
Well, and if you're not a local vendor, like what do you do between like are you gonna pay for the plane
drive home
ticket
for
and
4 days.
well not even drive home but like hop on a plane and go home for a couple days and hop on a
Yeah.
plane and come back like so they're trying to find things to do when they're renting a house for 2 weeks and they're like
Yeah, that is a lot.
so fortunately for like game fair typically the way it falls is it's like opener goose for North Dakota between
Mm,
to get first weekend then opener goose and then come back so a lot of people would be like all right we're loading up we have everything we need we're running to Dakotas get some early geese in for a few days come back
yeah.
um but still like I mean from a business and an organizational standpoint like how do you like Shin Southern Company come up and like what they
You
probably
can't.
do they probably throw people back on a plane and go back down
Right. Yeah.
like what else do you kind of do on that front but
I look forward to working some shows though. Like I said just a little earlier, it's like I think I love it.
mm-hmm,
I love talking to people and
mm-hmm.
talking ducks and or whatever booth I'm in fishing.
Well yeah and it's a cool opportunity to just you meet a lot of like-minded people
Yeah, you just have to travel a little bit.
yeah but I think we're starting to feel that already with this
Mm-hmm.
we're getting people reaching out and it's like
Look how many people have asked to be on the podcast already.
mm-hmm,
Like this is episode 4. Let's get 10 under us first or something. But then
mm-hmm,
we were talking about a podcast and this guy's like, yeah, just click the link in the bio and set up a time to talk with us.
mm-hmm.
And I never thought about that. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
how are we going to get people? How are we going to connect? How is that all going to look? But I think it'll be nice and easy.
Yeah, I mean, I've had all that figured out on the back end. It was just something like I don't really want to have to put focus on right now. It'd
Not
be
yet.
nice to get the wheels rolling on, what we're doing and kind of get a grasp of things and work the hiccups out of it. Because like, to be honest, this is gonna be the last time that we're gonna be sitting like this.
Whoa, you're
Um,
calling it out.
so next episode, like we're gonna kind of flip things around and have a better backdrop. And we're gonna have more lighting, and we're gonna make things look better. And we'll probably be doing like a multicam, different angle.
Yay.
So I think we'll probably, do 3 angles. I think we'll have a wide shot of the both of us, kind of like we have now, but then each have like a more personable cam because, it'd be nice if, I can, not that I need to stare at a camera, but have one more looking at me and like we can engage and still have the conversation we are, but
Yeah.
people can feel like we're talking a bit more to them.
Yeah, that's a comment that I've gotten
Mm-hmm.
from people is like, talk to your audience. And I'm like, I'm not going to stand here and be like, hey guys, this is Brittany.
Yeah,
It
when
just,
we're
I
having,
feel like this is a conversation. And when we have guests on, we're going to be having a conversation with them. And yes, of course, we're talking to you guys. But I want this to just be like a natural flowing conversation about whatever comes up.
Well, yeah, and we're just allowing people
This
like
isn't scripted. Like, we did not talk about what we were going to discuss at all. We just knew we had so much to talk about.
yeah, we have a lot to catch up on, and just allowing people to kind of have that inside scoop and what we're up to and what we're doing, and and we've mentioned it, we've talked about it. Of definitely planning on having guests, and
Yeah.
we're 100% will and are, and it'd be cool because we do have some local people, somewhat local,
Yeah.
that we can set up some sort of a portable deal
Yeah.
and go to them and plan it out. Like, let's plan a ice fishing trip and let's set it up in an ice shack. Let's, we get into a duck camp. Let's sit down and let's do it at duck camp. Hey, we're going to come over by you guys for the weekend. Like, you want to sit down for an hour one morning and have coffee and do a
Well,
podcast.
I think Dory and Jimmy even said that. They're like, we should be having a podcast right now. Like, whoops.
Which is a cool thing to do. And we've talked about too, like kind of like a behind the blind.
Well, even in the car. Didn't we talk about like tailgate talk?
Yeah,
Or,
like a tailgate talk or a behind the blind kind of a deal where we could,
I think we could do some like on long road trips and stuff too. Just sit down and talk in the car and talk about where we're going, what we're doing, what the plans are.
yeah, and I think there might be some opportunities where maybe we just do some audio only stuff, which is completely fine. I mean, that's how the podcast world started. And now it's really taken off digitally, which is why we're filming. And even like.
Do you know what our analytics are? Are more people listening than watching? I haven't checked.
Mom was awake.
Mom, I'm awake.
Yeah, we got to wrap this up quick.
Oh,
We're right
man.
where we always
Isn't
end
this
up.
early?
Uh-oh.
7 o'clock, 7:05.
Yep.
That's normal for her. I promise she's not in pain. She's just saying, I'm awake.
You say that every time.
Because somebody's
think
like, I hear her crying. And I'm like, no, she's not crying. She's just telling me she's awake.
Yeah, she's weird. She always wants us to go down and get her out of her room.
Yep. She's like, come get me.
She went through spurts where she used to just walk up on her own.
Oh my gosh, it
now she
scared me one
screams.
day. I was doing dishes for like 20 minutes. I was like cleaning up the house. I did some dishes. I did some laundry. And I walk in and she's on the couch. I'm like, how long have you been there? She's like, a long time. Like, what?
Yeah.
When did you come up? She goes, I don't know. It was still dark. I'm like, geez, kid. So I'm kind of glad that she's not like up here at 5 o'clock walking up. But yeah.
Well, I guess we kind of got to wrap things up.
Well, dang. That's all right. We have a lot to talk about. I do want to dive more into the fishing.
Yeah, because
And-
I'm sorry. I feel like this was all me.
That's okay. This episode can be about Arkansas.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can continue to talk. Maybe we'll do another one right away tomorrow. But definitely want to talk about fishing and applying for some pro staff stuff and what doors are opening on that front. And
Yeah, we actually both did. And I think like even talking to Dory and Jimmy, like they do some like collaborative kind of couple husband wife.
yeah,
Kind of deals with some companies, and I think that was kind of in the forefront of my mind. Like I thought some cool opportunities that we could probably get into. Because I feel like, I mean, we're both into it equally just as hard, but like we have the ability to be super creative on with what I can do.
yeah.
You have a really good personable personality,
I
and
think we're going to do really well because of the combination of who we are. You're going to be able to show off a lot of the things that we're doing. And
yeah, I
it'll-
mean, like honestly, I just put together like a simple, quick little reel of you catching the perch, and everybody loves it. It's like it took me 10 minutes.
that's what I keep saying. I'm like, it was such a quick little edit. Thank you, Jeremy. But everyone's like, holy crap. In this next one that we're going to post probably today, which will be posted already.
Even there, like
They're going to think it's awesome. And I saw how quick you put it together.
yeah, and it's just getting creative in my mind and allowing it to be like, I need to flip my frame, like my mind a little bit around of like pre-planning and doing some of that stuff, because that's something like I've always thought about doing that kind of like a shot, and like it was mindful in the moment, but like then sitting down after the fact of like I have all this footage, how can I put it together? Of where like I think we have some opportunities with doing some ice fishing stuff that like not that it needs to be staged, but like I can have some ideas in my mind.
Planned.
We did that with some duck hunting stuff. Like a lot of the stuff we did for Bluebird was like, okay, we're gonna sit down. We kind of scripted some things out. We scripted the talking points out. I had like bullet points of like some shots that I really need to hit. And,
Yeah, we can stay organized with it.
well, I was doing it appropriately, and it was pre-planned. And like, here's they reach out. Here's what we want. Here's what we need. And it's like, okay, now I have time to sit down, and it's not just like prototypical like Arkansas or like most of our duck hunts. Like we're just filming in the moment, and then I'm gonna put together what it is at the end, because
Yeah.
there's a third of our hunts aren't really that great. A third of our fishing trips out really aren't that great.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like,
You can create so much even if we don't catch fish,
mm-hmm,
so it's fine.
yeah, I mean, there'll be a lot of cool opportunities, and I think it's just to continue to, fall in love with doing this and just having conversation. And like, if it turns into something, if it doesn't, so be it.
Yeah, it
Be
kind of already is, and
Yeah,
that's
but
exciting. I know we're jumping the gun, relax everyone, but people are really loving it already, and it's
well,
opening
even
up
like the
doors.
weird things, I get like an email from like the hosting platform that we're using of like, hey Jeremy, this might be something, some cool information that we're gonna send you away. Like, take a look. You're number 88 in your first episode for podcast, in the hobby category. Like, what? Like, we just got rolling. And it's
Yeah.
not like we're hitting huge numbers or like giant views, but like, honestly, to start a fresh podcast and not having huge followings or really a lot of people out there in this particular niche that really knows who we are, or like have really been like we're not going to trade shows and setting up booths. We're not.
Mm-mm,
We don't have.
not yet.
We don't have a clothing line. We don't have like. We just like, you know what? I feel like this is something we want to do. I feel like we have an opportunity. It's something that I would love to do, to just sit down and talk with you,
Mm-hmm.
to get closer on those fronts and have good personal conversations and that. And we can just let people in on it.
Yeah.
We do a lot of cool things, and, it's going to take some time to kind of grow, but I mean, we're well over thousands of views on like every clip that we post on Instagram. Like, we're like, honestly, it's been a shock for me. And even to get like, I think we're like approaching like 400 total views or something on our first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's pretty solid.
That's a lot of people watching.
And it's like, you get people, like, I've seen some analytics, and there's some like Facebook groups I'm in, like, just relating to podcasts, and it's like they're on episode 5 and they've reached 5,000 views, and it's like, but then I look into who they are, and it's like, oh,
well, they have a ton of connections.
you kind of had a backing getting into it.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is exciting. I mean, people can really see the growth of this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They can see, the following increase and like what we're doing, and some of the brands we're getting on board and stuff. And yeah, we're ambitious, and we're excited, and I think we're going to continue to push to open up doors. And we've talked about that, like creating the life that we want to live, and that's what we're doing.
Yep.
So
we're figuring it out day by day. That's all we can do.
What else can you do? So we got the little one screaming for us.
I gotta get down there.
I know people are laughing about it, and people think it's cute and stuff online. But we could sit here and probably talk for another half hour.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap it up already. We had a lot to talk about, but that opens the door to more.
Yep, we'll dive into more. Hopefully we'll have what we will, unless if you want to rip out a podcast tomorrow. We will have a different look next time, and hopefully figure out the multicam. And,
oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of things on order that'll be showing up in the next few days. So we'll have to rearrange and set things up, and it's exciting. It'll look good, look different. So
until next time.
On that front,
Love you.
love you.